Let's get into it, folks. Antarctica, anomaly appearing out of nowhere. Let's go old school on the intro here. Welcome to Visual Disturbance. Welcome, everybody, to Visual Disturbance. I'm your host, Brian Reese. It has been a while since I have been live. And speaking of Antarctica and anomalies, right? The anomaly of today, before we do this program, every time I shared this link out, I don't know what was going on. I shared it on Facebook and different other platforms. Other people shared it out. It literally spelt anomaly wrong. But you can go on YouTube and it's spelled correctly. I tried to change it and alter it, but the powers that be wanted to make me not credible. You know, it was a misspelled word of anomaly. They added an M in there, an M. So, speaking of, I just wanted to verify that and tell everybody that I did try my darndest to correct that. But welcome to Visual Disturbance, folks. But yeah, folks, a lot of things going on in Antarctica, a lot of things going on in the world here in this insanity, what we're living in. All the April the 8th narrative came and gone. And a lot of things have happened. A lot of things have not surfaced yet. But let's get into the program. I have a lot to talk about this miraculous, let's just say anomalous kind of thing that went on in Antarctica. But before we get into that, I want to give a big shout out to Miss Ann, Shake and Wake Radio. Miss Ann at Shake and Wake Radio, I hope you're doing well. She airs all of her stuff and supports us in that way, and I really do appreciate everything. Miss Ann at Shake and Wake Radio, go check out everything that she does. She does a lot of stuff at her channel, a lot of stuff at Radio Network where she's just literally distributing all kinds of different material out there for your listening, podcasts, etc. So go check it out. Also, go check out my Visual Disturbance P.O. Box if you want to send me something, send me a letter or whatnot. I'm going to try to do some programs in the future to where I open up the letters online and literally speak first names. I won't give last names out because I like to have confidentiality. I don't like to give out last names, but I will maybe do that in the future. But yeah, folks, let's get into this whole Antarctica. Oh, one more thing real quick before I get into the program. At the left-hand corner of the screen, the Coffee website, if you want to check it out. At the Coffee page, sign up for it. It's free to sign up. It's basically like a social media kind of thing too, but you can also check out some stuff I have on there for, older programs, stuff that we did on Draw Living Waters, and you can check it out and also support the channel that way too if you feel like. The link is in the description. Let's get into this. So there's an individual, seen all kinds of different speculation and all kinds of different stuff online, and it's like blowed up. It went viral, whatnot. And after April the 8th, I had a lot of people sending me this imagery and footage, and I was like, yeah, I've been waiting for this. Believe it or not, I wouldn't consider myself a prophet or anybody that predict things. About a year ago, I said to myself, Brian, watch out for Antarctica and this whole region and what we're going to be talking about today. So I thought, I can't wait for it to pop off with this anomaly. And lo and behold, on the 9th of April, this anomaly happened. So take it for what it is, but I've been wanting to do this program for a long time. So here we are. So let's pull up the footage. I'm going to show this footage of this gentleman. He does a really good job articulating it and showing it. What went on. This massive blob spot shows up just out of nowhere. Let's watch this video. Let me get y'all's take, and then we'll go from there, and I'll show you all the data that I have on this. And this will blow your mind. So stay tuned. Let's check this out together. Rewind. Rewind, folks. I did not turn the audio on. That's my fault.
I'm trying to document this very weird anomaly taking place on Waco Ky. I don't know what this blob is here, but it's coming from what looks like Antarctica. If we backtrack a little bit, you're going to see it disappear and reappear on the screen. So we move into Monday the 8th, which was obviously 3 days ago. Watch as we move into Tuesday. This mass pops up with waves of 83.7 feet in height. What in God's name is this thing moving out of Antarctica, as you can see, and then it moves up the coast of Africa into the Atlantic Ocean. Watch this as we move into Wednesday the 10th, Thursday the 11th, which is today. This is going on right now. I don't know if these waves are actually hitting the coast or if this is some sort of glitch in the system, but I've never seen anything like this. This giant blob is showing 83.7 foot waves. This does not seem to be any sort of storm system. Let me zoom back out here. Let's move forward and see where this thing is projected to go. Watch this. Here's Friday the 12th tomorrow, moving more up the African coast. Here is Saturday the 13th. We could see it start to wrap around the northern western coast of Africa up into the Atlantic. Here is Sunday the 14th. Monday the 15th, we are in the Atlantic Ocean with waves of 62.1, 63 feet. This is just incredible. Here is Tuesday the 16th, and look, the entire thing is now in the Atlantic Ocean with averages of about 40 feet. There's 44, 33, 34.3. This is just very weird. What are we looking at here? Here's Wednesday the 17th, the last available data for this, and now we see the...
There you have it, everybody. So this, I think this gentleman is called Into the Air. I think it's what the gentleman's name is. I think it's his like screen name or whatnot. Kudos to him. So as you can see up here, it says 85 foot waves, right? So I was thinking about buoys and all these systems that go into play, and this whole area is always on my radar. We're talking about the Ring of Fire, talking about Africa, South America from Antarctica, and we have this massive blob that just shows up on the radar, right? So then here I am thinking about pulling up large waves, large anomalies, right? And I knew a year ago I had this, like, literally just, I don't know, just a thought, and I was like, I'm going to watch this area and wait for this day where there's going to be tidal waves and all these mass pooling of water waves, right? So here we have 85 foot waves reported. So these buoys, they're picking up all this energy levels, right? So it's interesting that Antarctica shows this popping up, right? This anomaly. But I thought about it. I had to really process this for a while and really just comprehend it. So we had all the things going on with, you know, the eclipse, with April the 8th, all this speculation. We had CERN firing up, all this nonsense, right? All this stuff that goes on in our realm where people literally just go out there and they're just throwing their, you know, reel out and trying to hook anybody with a bait and switch, which I did some programs recently where we talked about just warning people about these things that are coming upon the earth, this speculation and everything and the hype. Yes, that was included with those narratives with April the 8th, but there was nefarious things going on. A lot of people were scoffing and saying, well, nothing happened. Well, when you go outside and you look, it's the same backyard unless a tree falls or a wind, something comes and knocks it down. You're not going to be able to see thousands of miles away, and then you're not going to be able to see where people are going to report this stuff because let's just face it, folks. Let's just say there's manipulation and deception on the highest order here in 2024. So when we're talking about this, get this. So I have some really interesting data to show. So just hang on a minute. Let me pull this up for everybody and let's get into this. So what we have is the Antarctic Treaty. A lot of people talk about the Antarctic Treaty. A lot of people might not know about the Antarctic Treaty. So when this thing showed up miraculously, on April the 9th and went on through those few days and then went up into the Atlantic there, passed and up into America. You have all these areas and land masses that they will not show. We're going to show them. We're going to show them here in a little bit. A lot of people don't know about the Antarctic Treaty, but the peace treaty that goes on down there and all the hidden technology that keeps getting, let's just say, little increments and little nuggets that they keep throwing out into this so-called narrative of our world, right? But a lot of people won't talk about this. A lot of people won't talk about the 1938, 1939 the expedition of Germany, of an Antarctic expedition, right? New Schwabenland. New Schwabenland, we all know, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people know about this flag here, what it symbols and what it represents. But there's a lot of ancient things that go with the Nephilim and different things, the powers that be, that go way back. And, let's just say before Noah. And when we talk about the black sun, which I want to throw this out here real quick, the black sun, there's a book here by Nicholas Goodrick, Clark, and it talks about the Aryan cults and the different politics of the identity of the black sun. So interesting, that's kind of similar to what went down on April the 8th, and all these different powers that be was so-called, let's just say we're going to use NASA, CERN, these facilities was using this energy, whatever they was trying to do to detect or deter or whatever, and they had all these missions and these applications that they was supposedly using during this event on April the 8th. So isn't it interesting that David Hatchett Childress, I know me and I've taught, well, I think Brother David talked about this, but I know we did some programs, the secrets of the secrets of the black sun. You see this logo goes back to ancient times. But you see all the little logos here and little things on the book here. There's UFO anomalies, different things, and it goes back to that German expedition. So what did happen those days, back in all those years back, right? And what was Hitler and all those, let's just say his compadres or whatever, his amigos, what was they coming down to? What was they getting? What was going on? What did they know when this black sun? There's all kinds of speculation with the hollow earth theory with the black sun coming through the circuits. They're on these different circuits. If you get into biblical cosmology, different things with the sun, the moon, the stars. But what's up with this black sun? And if you go back to ancient cultures, they use this logo for a lot of things. They talk about the North Star, the Great North, all these different things with coordinates. Different things with longitude, latitude. Going and directing things to this north. The Great North and different things with constellations, the Big Dipper, all this stuff, right? So let's get into some Google Earth. And this is the stuff that's going to really blow your mind. And hit that like button and hit that share button and subscribe to Visual Disturbance if you haven't. I really would appreciate it. So check this out. Let me pull some Google Earth here for everybody. This is where it's going to get really interesting. Really interesting stuff here. So a lot of people don't know about these islands, but I'm going to show them anyways. A lot of people I want to bring it up because it goes right along with the content of this program and the context of what I'm trying to explain. So this thin air gentleman that showed the footage of the anomaly, the blimp that just pops up and is literally large enough to cover Texas. I mean, in big mass of America. Hello. So I remember in some of my studies and the stuff I've looked into way back, and I wanted to go back and start in Antarctica and really see and hone in on some specific areas that are really intriguing to me. So let's go here first. This one is really interesting to me. This little circle here in the red here, it is literally called Devil's Island. So not to mention, if you zoom out, there's all kinds of other weird, strange things, right? With there's this, well, let's just say polar stations everywhere, different bases, different military applications. But I want to hone in here that there's this such thing as a Devil's Island. But if you kind of back up a little bit, you say, check that out. Deception Island. Let me pull it up a little bit better for everybody on the screen. Deception Island, Deception Station. It looks like a circle. What is up with that? Come on, folks. Are we living in the Twilight Zone? And in these little tacks, I'll get to you in a little bit. I'm going to tell everybody what these little tacks are, so keep that in mind. These little tacks here that I have highlighted here on the Google Earth imagery. I want to really focus in Deception Island, Devil's Island, all this nonsense, right? There's just all this stuff that goes on that's correlating with this. And I think, and so this updates, Google Earth updates periodically, okay? It updates the satellite footage, updates periodically. So I want to bring something in. I want to hone in on a specific place. Check this white line right here. I do not do manipulation when I do live streams. I do not do anything to deceive anybody. I want to make that a point. So if anybody's out there that sees this and say, well, Brian, you just wrote on it. No, I did not. This is on Google Earth Pro. I wanted to hone in on this white line, all right? And so my uncle says it's paper mache. He's always saying that it looks like paper mache, which I agree. They literally take Photoshop editing tools and they do some kind of nefarious things that go on. I don't know what the deal is. Well, I do, because guess what? Just like the Deception Island, they're deceiving people. So let's just say that in that term. So so you see this white line, right? It's pretty straight, and you see all these little indicator, these little tags I've got everywhere, right? So keep that in mind. You have this solar pole. You have all these different locations. These are stations, okay? Antarctica dome, imagine that. All these are little indicators. I will tell you in a minute what they are. We have several here in Antarctica. So this white line, and we have all this area here where supposedly this mass starts manifesting, probably around this area. But I wanted to point that out. It almost looks like a white light. A white light. Like it kind of goes underneath this paper mache of water. Kind of bizarre, right? So when you kind of pop back out, and we want to hone in on this trajectory of this anomaly in Antarctica. What happened, right? That on April the 9th. And with the thin air gentleman, so if you see this, if we're really focusing on this area here, and this anomaly, a gigantic anomaly pulling on the ocean floor, let's just have fun here. A little speculation at this point, but I'm going to show you some actual stuff that will baffle the mind. So it's pulling on the waves, the tidal waves, whatever this is, it starts to, and then the gentleman on thin air said, well, it starts to disintegrate. It starts to lose its form. It's reappearing, popping in and out. But I want to focus on something. When the anomaly, it goes right on the shoreline of Africa, right? It just sits there and it pulls, and these buoy systems are indicating, hey, there's something anomaly, there's something going on. Let's check the data, collect the data. How would they do that, right? And you're like, well, it's buoys, right? So anybody that's watched this channel, I like to do star forts and all kinds of stuff, but there's certain things I have not showed here on Visual Disturbance channel or anything I've ever done. So those little yellow tacks, guess what they are? They're NASA, literally weather indicators, which hence I'll show you what they are before we move on and show more evidence of something going on here nefariously. Check this out. So what we have here is AeroNet, no joke, AeroNet, Aerosol Robotic Network, and it's Goddard Space Flight Center. So when you look at all this, and they're talking about the registering protons, different operational, textile aerospace, all these different things, right? And it's checking out frequency, radioactive narratives, signatures, database, and they're collecting all this different data for NASA. I want to point something out. David Pilates said, not too long ago, I think it was like a year and a half ago or something, he was on an interview, I was listening to it, talking about that he knew somebody that worked at NASA, that they was literally focusing on portals and literally looking at these ancient gates, ancient portals to that effect. And I just thought it was interesting. That is this Aerosol Robotic Network, AeroNet system database, this whole called grid, which is the green indicator dots everywhere on this map here. Everybody that's watching this live program. So what they're checking out for is literally, we're talking about airways, participation waters, all kinds of different things for water, everything, right? So we can only imagine what kind of data is collected. We can only speculate. Look, I don't work at NASA. Do I claim to even But I can tell you, if I see an antenna sticking out of the ground, I understand there's some kind of data collection going on. So I've looked into these, right? They're smaller scale, they're large scale, just like the particle accelerators, just like the hadron colliders. There's only a few of those on the Earth, but there's a bunch of particle accelerators. 2014, you can look this up, there was 30,000 all over the Earth, small scale. It can be small as your room, small as a truck, small as a box, whatever. Large as a huge complex, whatever, right? But check this out. So you have all these literally aero robotic network grid like setup here, and NASA, right? Let's see how many there is, and let's actually go to Google Earth and see what's going on here. So we remember we was looking at the anomaly in the water, and it was hovering over there and making the tidal waves and the waves going up. So here I am in my mind, right? I'm collaborating all this data, right? And waiting for this data to do this program. Is so stoked to present it to everybody. But like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to hone in on star forts. So there's a star fort here. All the red line, all the red indicator. This is South Africa, Cape Town Castle. That's a star fort. I want to throw something else out. That's a star fort. This little black star, when it hones in, it tells you that's a red mark. That's an actual star fort. So if you go over here to South America, star fort, star fort, star fort, star fort, star fort. All these little black areas here. Let me zoom in for everybody so everybody can see it. All these red indicator. This is telling the titles of the star forts. I wanted everybody to see that on the screen here. So you can't make this stuff. Imagine that. Check these yellow indicators out. The little yellow indicator tabs. The yellow indicator tabs are telling me this is all NASA, literally NASA-controlled AeroNet robotic network. So get this. Let's zoom in here. There's a bunch on the shoreline. There's another one. It's literally called, you see it on the screen here, Possession Island. And literally, it's called Possession Island, okay? So you can't make this stuff up. It's on the shoreline of Africa. But I really want to get into some really cool stuff here. So as this anomaly was coming out of Antarctica, right? Well, so let's hone in and think about scalar energy. They come out and said that they can do it. And this is say they have the weaponry, I got to watch what I say, that they can do this type of application, that whatever type of powers they have at that Antarctic Treaty, they have some kind of, let's just face it, they have some type of fallen angel, UFO knowledge, or whatever it is, technology. But here's where it gets so interesting. As this anomaly was coming up and down the ocean here, and it's pretty large, right? You see these little three tabs here? And here this anomaly is sucking all that energy, right? It's going all that tidal wave, and it's sitting there bouncing back and forth, probably off of Africa, and then probably ripples all the way through back to South America. But check this out. So guess what? NASA has these stations, and I know you can see it on the screen there. Well, we have St. Helena. So we have this location of a station collecting data for the robotic aerosol robotic network, collecting whatever anomalies, I guess, seismic activity, whatever the nonsense is going on. But I wanted to throw this out here real quick before we move any further on this particular island. You can't make this stuff up. Did you know there's a place on this particular island called Jacob's Ladder? So here we are. We have this anomaly, literally went right over this island. and they have Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder, I marked this. That tab right there is not a NASA. That was one I had to use. Sorry for the confusion, but it is called Jacob's Ladder, but the little tab there, just ignore that. But here's Jacob's Ladder. And, talking about Deception and Devil's Tower, Devil's Island, and all these different names. Who comes up with these names? who comes up with them, and if they have any kind of, let's just add the spiritual component in, right? With the spiritual applications, these people know the old ways of the esoteric understanding. They know the biblical narrative. They know the Tower of Babel. They have all this mystery school knowledge, and they blatantly put this stuff up in our face and mock us. But this thing is called Jacob's Ladder. I thought it was very interesting that on this location where they have this NASA site where they're collecting data, and they have this at St. Helena, you have this location, Helena, excuse me, and you have this location here where this anomaly went over top of it, right? So not only that one, it gets even worse. So not only that one, we have this other area. So here we go. Here you go. We got star forts on this side, star forts on that side, and this anomaly is going over top of here. And you see it here, everybody. This island is called Ascension Island. You can't make this stuff up. Let me zoom it in on the screen here for everybody to see. This is called Ascension Island. They have literally these two areas here. This one right here is literally these two tabs here. Don't pay attention to that. Just indicating what it's called, Ascension Island. But this one is. But these two right here are literally NASA robotic aerosol network collecting data once again, whatever kind of data they're collecting. And I could not believe that this is literally Ascension Island. So I know we're going to take it down a little bit of a speculation, and a lot of people will say it was a conspiracy narrative, but why is this anomaly popping up and it just miraculously goes over top of these locations and literally called Ascension? And this happened right after April the 8th, right? And everybody was so locked in and locked on to watching and observing the eclipse. And meanwhile, there's something charging up or whatever it was that was going on in Antarctica, and something blowing up or whatever it was. And we can only speculate. It could be the energies from the eclipse that this thing jumped out and it was massive. A lot of people online was saying that it was a glacier. A lot of people was saying it was a meteor. And if it was a glacier, well, this Ascension Island, these places would have like literally damage that, my goodness, the thing was gigantic. It would destroy all these little miniature islands and their NASA data, right? So here we are with this anomaly pulling in. So it's charging up, it's going around, and just all this area right here, it's just charging up, right? And it's starting to like blow up even more. And a lot of people were saying, and the thin air gentleman was saying that it was like exploding, or it's basically dissipating or whatnot. But hey, welcome to Visual Disturbance. I'm going to throw something at you real quick. It gets even more crazier. So it's going up through here, and it's going up into this trajectory all between these two continents here, right? And then this is when it starts to dissipate. It starts to dissipate, and it starts to get all up into the Americas, and so this whole area here, right? So let's check out, and let's go back to I got something here to show you all before I go back to Google Earth. So check this out. So if I have, this is a, right here. Here's the slide here that I have. So this is a myth, a legend, and a lot of people would, say it's folklore or whatnot, but there's a lot of speculation that this area right here used to embody Atlantis. This used to be Atlantis, supposedly. I thought it was interesting that great blob just like, shows up and gets stuck and then just obliterates right here, right where this Atlantis so-called continent. That's when it broke. That's really when the energy started building up and it just like expanded. So you're like, what does that have to do with this presentation? Well, I want to show you something real quick. So let's go back to Google Earth, and I want to really get into what I'm trying to say here. So not only do we have these little tabs and these star forts, right, all up and down through here, which I thought is interesting that I could not find any military, as far as military bases all up and down these coasts. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was kind of weird. So here we go. So it goes over these areas, right? It goes over this little island here. So these little islands, and it's still gaining ground. But I want to point something out before we move any further. There's a location that I want to do a program on soon in the future, and it's not too far off the coastline. This is the Eye of the Sahara. The Eye of the Sahara is a really an ancient place. I want to specify here that I remember John Pounders and David Carrico doing a midnight ride on this, and I was wondering about the Eye of the Sahara, and Brother David was talking about the glass. It looks like Trinonite, the green emerald, color to it. And there's one thing that I thought of. I was like, man, it almost looks like a dock station. We could only speculate. A lot of people probably the fringe topics that people like panic whenever you get into these like real open mind conversations, but like outside the box kind of conversation, a thought provoking conversation here. But I want to hone in on the Eye of the Sahara, right? So it looks like an eye from the aerial view. So here we are. This miraculous anomaly is just literally blowing up right now toward this area. And I want to hone in. There's star forts all up and down the northern of Africa, and it goes all up into Russia and all kinds of different places, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of star forts. So the Eye of the Sahara, I have this thing I want to bring up. Has anybody ever seen the program? Let me bring it up here real quick. Stargate SG-1 series. It went on forever. It's kind of interesting that they use that Cheyenne Mountain out there. They literally use a military base to do the production, and they stayed there for a long time. This series right here went on for like 10 years. I think it was like 10 seasons. And then there was all kinds of other ones, Stargate Atlantis, which we're going to be talking about here in a second. You can only speculate a little bit here, but it's interesting that I've always heard, and when we talked about prior at the beginning of this program, that there's like Stargates. There's Stargate in Antarctica. No joke. Well, lo and behold, on this program, they find a Stargate. There's one literally in supposedly America during the whole plot of this TV show, and you have one in Antarctica. Isn't that kind of strange, right? Are they telling us truth in the Hollywood narrative? We can only speculate and only just make a guesstimation. But let's get back into the Eye of the Sahara. So I thought about the Eye of the Sahara, and I remember specifically that day when John Pounders and David Carrico did that program, and I thought to myself, the Eye of the Sahara, if you have the Eye of the Sahara and you have this, because there's literally talking about a nuclear blast to make this kind of Trinonite and all this glass be all over this area. So what happened the other day on April the 9th and all these through a few days when this anomaly went through the ocean? Was it powering up something? So check this out. This is only, I haven't heard anybody else say this. So this is all speculation on my part. This is all just in my mind how I would think about this. Did Atlantis did this, because there's a lot of scholars out there, a lot of people out there talking about this area, saying that it's a location of where Atlantis resided, right? A lot of places, so we have this evidence of a nuclear explosion. Let's just, we can only go, there's so much you could go in down this. We're going to have to do another program on that alone. But what if the Eye of Sahara, and it literally it almost looks like something was dragged across the continent, all the way to the shoreline. Well, in the program of Stargate Atlantis, they talk about this location, which it's Stargate, like it's Stargate Atlantis. They have this city that was at the bottom of the ocean, and it can literally sink to the ocean, or it can literally levitate and fly. It can fly, plus it can hover and float on the ocean water. So I thought, so what if, a lot of people are saying it's a meteor, a lot of people are saying that it's, some type of great glacier. What if they literally, let's just say they had a cloaking technology or something to that effect, and they pulled their card the other day. They literally had to after all the distractions, all the hype with the eclipse, and they pulled their wild card, right? So let's just hypothetically say that they moved something or something popped up, because, there are all this speculation with UAPs, UFOs, all this nonsense, right? So what if they had this type of technology? What if something like this exists and they're telling you in a TV show way back in the early 2000s? I mean, come on, right? We can only speculate. But here's what's so interesting. So we have the Eye of Sierra sitting there, and all this anomaly that crawls up, it's literally just hovering in this point, at the point of this area, it starts to dissipate and literally expand all over the ocean here. But check this out. We have NASA, all these locations with these beacons, or these so-called little tiny aerosol radio net or robotic networks. And don't even mention this up on the left-hand corner of the screen. That's all the star forts and the military facilities. There's all kinds of stuff going on up in here, all up in Americas and stuff. But we have the Bermuda Triangle. We have the Bermuda Triangle with 3 star forts. And I always thought it was interesting that this whole area is monitored, right? So what if, hypothetically, that this location, let's just say that Atlantis, or, let's have fun here. It's only speculation on visual disturbance. And let's just say that there is something out there, because this is where the ring of fire, this is where it always generates, and there's all kinds of nonsense going on, and we have all this tectonic plates, seismic activity. But you would think that this anomaly, this huge event that happened, you think it'd be broadcast across the airways, right? You think 85-foot waves, oh my goodness, tsunami warnings all over Africa, all up and down South America, oh my goodness, what has happened? So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's something under. I think it was something that was hovering, and it was showing it, and it showed it for a blimp second. It was catching the schematic, the size of it. It was showing. I said schematic, but literally just the how big of a girth of an area it was covering, how big of a space. I think that, and then it started to hover over and dissipate. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it is, and that's why they couldn't track it. And then there's always buoy systems going off, and that's why there's just a wide scale. That's just my opinion. But isn't that interesting, right? So if it's spreading this energy source, and by this time you're getting at these 85-foot waves, 30-foot, I don't care if it's 20-foot, I feel like it's pulling, and the water was somehow pulling up. That's just my opinion, and I know it's a little crazy here on Visual Disturbance, but hey, welcome to the channel. But, I've been wanting to do a program on this, and I knew that there would be some scalar energy or some type of anomaly come up in this area here. So, that being said, let's check this out. So we have, let me see here. We have a few other things I want to discuss real quick. So let's get back into the blacksun. So the blacksun, it literally, to me, that event, and there's all kinds of people that have built up this hype of all this death and destruction, death and doom that went on. There was, and I've spoke about it, but I was just warning of the things that they was, propagating and saying that might happen, right? So, isn't it interesting that this stuff was talked about back in the Nazi times, back in the, Hitler days, and then it's kind of interesting that this stuff was like a thing, right? So what I'm thinking, and here's where I'm at here on Visual Disturbance, I'm thinking this anomaly and whatever, it's either a craft, a UFO, whatever you want to call it, VNAMA. I say it was a VNAMA. And it's just so interesting that all this stuff, NASA you had to plug in your zip code to see where the totality was, right? So back up, and if it wasn't for these people that was looking at these buoys and stuff and all this different data, big shout out to the thin air gentleman. But what I'm saying, if all this stuff is all just random, or it's a coincidence, I don't believe in coincidences. So we have all this stuff that goes along back in the day with the Hitler connections and the Nazi correlation. So what is it? So what happened on those days of this expedition of Antarctica? Why the secrecy with the Antarctica Treaty? Why is everybody at peace? But when they leave the foundation of the Antarctica, leave the shoreline, everybody's into like some type of weird fear-mongering and war concept, right? But we're all like, when they gather here, there must be something here that is uniting everybody, right? So what if hypothetically there is this something to this effect? You know, I know that they probably doctored it up on these programs, but what if something down there that they're literally harboring, that they're keeping the technology, and this is something of this scale has happened? And let's just have fun here. Let's just say that this was something that levitated and it up, and you could not, the buoys could not pick it up anymore, and it cloaked, it disappeared. I mean, they have cloaking mechanisms, military applications, Air Force, they have ways to cloak from all kinds of radar detecting and everything. Let's just face it. So let's just see, maybe that's why that there was nothing going on. Maybe why there's no tsunami warnings. Maybe there was no earthquake activity, because it was pulling up instead of pulling down. That's just me. I'm just speculating, but I wanted to show you all one more time the data on just in case y'all want to go check it up on your own. So this area, the northern part of Antarctica, had an anomaly, and it crawled all the way up and through the Africa, all the way up and down all these star forts and all these aerosol robotic network, NASA data collection network. And I mean, they're inundated everywhere. There's a ton of them. And the really thing that blew my mind, there was a ton in South America, there's a ton on Africa, but they're mainly just guarding around the circumference around the perimeter of Africa. And I thought it was kind of wild, because if you go back and look, there's two that are right here, and then you have the Eye of the Sahara. I thought it was interesting there was two in that proximity. So that being said, what do you guys think? I know it's going to be a short one today, but I wanted to just kind of show everybody, you know, speaking of deception, Devil's Island, Ascension Island, Jacob's Ladder, all this nonsense. Why would they name those places like that? And what is going on here? Did they deploy some kind of weird anomalous weapon? Only God knows. And I just think it's so strange that these anomalies and stuff are popping up after this event on April the 8th. And then, I mean, nobody's speaking about it. You know, there's very few people speaking about it, but I hope everybody enjoyed the program. I hope the data that I will show gives you all something to think about. So the thought-provoking live stream tonight and this afternoon. So I just think all this stuff correlates together, and hope everybody's enjoyed this program. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for being part of the Visual Disturbance community. Want a big shout out. We got a program coming up on Sunday Night Live on FOJC Underground Church. We're going to be talking about animals and the connection with Enoch. I'll be deploying that program here in a little bit tonight or tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that link. Share this thing out. I hope it helped with the explaining of it. I mean, we'll see what happens and see if anything comes from it. But you know, it's just something to keep an eye out, because we don't ever know what's going to happen. But something to keep an eye out for the Ring of Fire and what's going on there. And let's just see. And I think before we end this live stream, I think, like what I was saying earlier at the program with David Pilates saying that he knew somebody at NASA that was literally honing in on portals and trying to collect the data where these ancient, let's just say ancient antediluvian areas are, pre-Adamite areas. And I think, in my opinion, there's so much controversial topics we could talk about Antarctica. Talking about the pre-Adamite, there's all kinds of different things with giants and Nephilim down that way, all kinds of stuff. What did they do on April the 9th? Because there could have been something to that effect, portals or something. And what David Pilates was saying about the NASA connection and everything, and I think that these NASA aerosol robotic network are collecting data, because they're not just in South America, they're not just in Africa, they're not just in Antarctica, they're in America also, in every continent. They're actually in every continent, folks. So I hope everybody enjoyed this program. It's been a really good time to go do a Visual Disturbance live broadcast. I don't do them that often. I need to start doing them more often. But I hope everybody enjoyed the program. Subscribe to the channel. Share this thing out. Like I said, when you share it out on Facebook or any kind of social media, the anomaly is that when you go to the link, it literally misspells anomaly, and you can't make this stuff up. YouTube has corrected it, but no joke, when you share it out, it's spelled with an extra M in anomaly. And like I said at the beginning of the program, it's literally something's going on there to make me not look credible. And I think that's strange because it's a mistype, which I didn't do. And every time you share it out on social media, it wants to say an extra M in anomaly. So how odd is that? So welcome to Antarctic Anomaly and what is going on down there. I hope everybody enjoyed the program. And I'll see you on the next one. Share this thing out. Thank you all so much. Be blessed. Have a good evening. And we'll see you Sunday night on Sunday Night Live. Me and Brother David Carrico. Y'all have a good night. Visual Disturbance, I am out.